Brownbird here with a reaction video. So let me give you a backdrop of why I'm making this video. This is just very surface level information or surface level thinking. I'm not trying to go into it with research as much. Uh, I'm not afraid to admit at all that I'm learning as much as I can learn in this period and trying to connect the dots together as a North American Negro, and why I stress incessantly in personal life and in just maybe here on YouTube, why I express the North American Negro, aka the African American, aka the Black American, is different from Africans. Now, this is in response to a man named Wode who's on YouTube. And I've been having this conversation, well, not with him, but I've been having this conversation with people around me to stress the idea that the idea of the 1619 Project is a lie, or it's a backward story, and that also that I believe that North American Negroes are not the same as Africans, continental Africans. Now, the thing that we usually have a problem is this ongoing friction. There's been so many YouTube videos about it. You can search it up. There's been so many debates, and there's been so much problems within the so-called African American community, quote unquote, where even African Americans who usually associate themselves with what we call the Pan-African movement, they try to convince, or they try to say that we're causing division for saying that we are different from Africans. Now, as much proof as you want to give to people about why North American Negroes are different from Africans, and why Africans don't share the same experiences as North Americans, they still will fight you on it. They still will say you're causing a division tactic, that you're upholding white supremacy antics, and all these different things to prove that you're nothing more than a liar and you don't know what you're talking about. Now, this is a thing. I've seen a video. I've seen Wode make his commentary about trying to bridge the gap between North American Negroes, which I say, versus Africans. And let's not pretend that everything is Beach Street in Africa, all right? Let's not try to pretend that Africa has it all together, that everybody in those 54 countries is all black, because not all of them are black Africans. You have other nationalities that live out there, right? And then you also have Africans of different countries beefing with other Africans because of the resources, and they feel like the immigration thing, that they're stealing each other's jobs. Let's pretend like that doesn't happen. Now, this is the thing. I've said this in personal life, but I'll say it here on YouTube. North American Negroes powers the whole world. Let me repeat that again. North American Negroes powers the whole world. In my personal experience, of course, I've never had no beef with Africans. I get along with Africans. Africans are chill people. They're cool. I get along with Caribbeans. But when it comes to the genetics, when it comes to the haplogroups, I guess it's called, or when it comes to the way that a person looks, of course, there are North American Negroes and Caribbean people usually look the same. They usually look similar. We usually share some type of same identity when it comes to face. And the thing that bugs me about this argument about Africans versus African Americans is that whenever there's an invention, or whenever there's history talking about an individual person, public figures, on all these different things, it becomes Africanized. So what they say is, when they see pictures from the 1800s and 1900s, let's say a black girl that's outside wearing a long dress, a flannel dress or something like that, they say she's African. When we're talking about the civil rights movement, they say that they're African. Martin Luther King never mentioned anything about Africa, right? They'll go on this whole thing about W.E.B. Du Bois. They'll go on these different things every single time about Marcus Garvey and his whole thing about the African Knights and all these different things out there, the RGB flag and all these different things, fam. I'm telling you this for a reason. In order for Africans to get it, I'm not trying to beef with Africans. My problem is not even with Africans. My problem is with Pan-Africans. That's my problem. As Brownbird, I sit on my 2 feet, and I will tell you, My problem is with Pan-Africans. And my problem is also with the government because they spent millions upon millions of dollars indoctrinating our ancestors into this belief we are not from here. And for us to believe that what you call mestizos are native to this land. That is the problem. So having this conversation about bridging the gap and us taking all our power and our strains to sit up there and give it to Africans when they move over here, it shouldn't even be accurate. I would say to Africans, you need to learn to respect us. Not all of us believe we are you. You will never pull the same type of antics amongst Aboriginal Australians, Melanesians, and people who have darker hue and brown hue. You would never say to a Samoan they are African. So why do you spend your time trying to convince North American Negroes we are the same people? You will never try it with other people. North American Negroes that study time after time will tell you they are not African. Whether it's the Aboriginal narrative or whether it's the Hebrew Israelite narrative. You have to understand that when it comes to information, you cannot convince people that they are the same as you. You are upholding this thing we call eugenics. You are upholding indoctrination that's been rampant for 70, 80 years. More so than that, when they've had programs in the 1700s and the 1800s to convince North American Negroes to help build certain civilizations out in Africa. And that when it even came to food resources, they lied. And they say things like soul food is African-made food. And this is another thing before I get out of here with this message about bridging the gap, which is all a falsehood and a fallacy. And once I do more videos, I'm going to make this a topic on my show. My thing about it is, if it was about slavery, which has only lasted for 246 years, then tell me how North American Negroes knew exactly where to go when it came to certain places. Do not give me that same poor ass excuse that North American Negroes were being helped out by the Native Americans that you view on TV as mestizos to give me the argument and try to tell me that that's the reason why North American Negroes were able to travel from, let's say, Virginia all the way to California or Texas and all these different things. Even when you find a so-called black man that was a cowboy, you call him African. And the confusing part about this is that we get twisted up on words. And again, I'm not trying to go hard into history and go hard into research and all this other stuff. I'm going to make that a topic later on through my journey here on YouTube. But the point about it is respect. And a lot of the times, when you Africanize North American Negroes, you take away our experiences to claim something that we're not. We're not all from Africa. We did not all come off those slave ships. Pretty much sure most of us probably didn't even come off those slave ships. So now you're invalidating my experiences to make it seem as if you are the natural born person. You're the original person of this earth. That's not even necessarily true. So getting along, doing this kumbaya and sitting up there saying all the dances we created as African will piss a lot of North American Negroes off. Gospel coming from Africa and the Negro spirituals. And when you use words like Negro and nigger and all this other stuff, and I really didn't want to use these words, but I'm saying it for the context of this conversation. Africans, and you know this is true, you don't even use those words. You don't use those words. North American Negroes use those words. And I will be doing a episode amongst here on YouTube so I can define a lot of these words and phrases that are related to North American Negroes or so-called black people across the board in general, just to make my point that there are different words that was used, whether in the past time and in present day, to differentiate between who is a North American Negro, a melanated diaspora person, or an African. Otherwise than that,